Hello, and welcome to Pink Sky Inspired Conversations with Enid O'Toole and Lucy Ashby. Today on the show we have Faye Rackham. She's a mum, an artist, and jack of all trades. When she's not working, she likes to spend time with her daughter in their mini zoo and sketch when she gets the chance. Faye has three passions in life: nature, anything prehistoric, and Tina Turner. Her art reflects her enthusiasm for these subjects, and when she's not working on pet commissions, she likes to create her own style of colour pencil artwork and the occasional watercolour or ceramic piece. Faye was diagnosed at 34 with autism, Asperger's, and the late diagnosis has transformed her life. She grew up feeling like she was an alien. She never fit into the norm or to those around her, but she now understands that she's simply from another planet. As an advocate for young girls with autism, she feels that too many slip under the radar or are misdiagnosed, and therefore they don't get the support they require. Faye's new motto, and the one she tries to live by, is be your true self.
So welcome, Faye. It's so lovely to have you with us today.
Hi, thanks for having me. This is great.
That's good, isn't it?
So obviously we came up with this, well, I came up with the title for these different conversations.
Okay, we'll say that.
Very
Yeah,
bright
really
woman.
good.
Yeah, very bright woman. So obviously it's about people that inspire us. So I know that you enjoy the podcast. You've told us about that. So we want to know what inspires you and what makes you feel like your very best self.
My biggest inspiration is nature. You'll have to apologise. My little parrot is keeping me company today, so
Awesome.
he likes all the attention. So
Oh,
you may hear him from time to time. But yeah, my biggest inspiration is nature. I think too many people take it for granted, and unfortunately, we're destroying it rather than embracing it. My best time is just sitting in my garden by my pond or with my tortoises, and I just feel completely at peace. And when I sketch any wildlife, I try to bring it to life. And yeah, that's the inspiration for me. It's just being one with nature. There are so many animals that I relate to, and as a mammalian species, there's so much of our behaviours that we could learn from animals in general, and we just don't. We abuse instead, and human society will perish because we're killing our nature.
Yeah, totally understand that. Now, you've told us before how the Pink Sky podcast inspires you. Who are the three people who have been the most influential to you, do you think?
Without a doubt, my first one is Tina Turner.
I knew you were going to say that.
If anybody knows me, you know, Tina Turner has always been such a massive part of my life. I got my first Tina Turner tape when I was 5. It was the Break Every Rule album, and it's still my go-to album. You know, it's my safe place. I grew up not realizing that I had autism, and so I felt so strange, but I would listen to her music and just get lost. And she is without a doubt one of the most inspirational women you would ever find. And growing up, I didn't know about her story. And I think it's probably because, you know, like my mum would kind of almost protect me from it. And then I just heard this voice, and it was mesmerizing and so powerful, you know, and I was hooked. And then I watched What's Love Got to Do with It, the movie, and I grew up almost like this person is part of me. And so it really hurt me when I watched the film for the first time to see this woman just being abused by such a vicious man. And so it really taught me so early on to be dominant and to be strong. And Tina Turner has never seen herself as a feminist or as a particular role model, but she has helped millions of people all over the world with just her courage and determination and her strength. So I can't think of a better role model, really, you know.
Absolutely.
So she's definitely
she's a
up
tough
on the
lady.
pedestal.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Is there anyone else that
Yeah,
that list?
definitely my dad.
Oh.
My dad was one of 5 boys. He grew up on the Heartsease estate, and his maths teacher literally threw him out of his class and said to him and his friend Paul that they would never become anything. And Paul and my dad run really successful businesses, and my dad has just done so well for himself, but keeping his feet firmly on the ground and teaching me so many lessons, and I'll forever be grateful, and I couldn't wish for a better dad and a better role model, really.
Awesome.
Yeah, I was just going to say my third, but I'm kind of cheating with my third, actually, because I've got 2 people that come, like joint third.
Okay.
And, the first is Chris Packham, because he uses his autism to inspire others. He's a unique individual, and he's so passionate about what he believes, and he stands up to the bullies. And I really respect him for it. And then my joint third is a lady called Kristen McAuliffe. So she's a teacher.
Yes.
And she was picked from thousands of applicants to go into space, and she was going to be the first civilian. And every time you watch any of the footage before the launch, all she wanted to do, she was beaming about going up into space, and all she wanted to do was teach for the kids, do it for the kids, and show the kids that you can achieve anything, And unfortunately, those dreams literally went up in smoke. Back in '86, and it's such a travesty that it happened to all those people. Yeah. But for her especially, that dream that just never happened, and those poor kids to witness it and everything. And so she's always held a really special place for me.
It's interesting you should talk about her, because I remember a few months ago actually watching a video with the lead up of her, choosing her and her in her classroom and her with her family, and it really was bittersweet, because it still means so much, and it always will. But the excitement in her face, along with the rest of her colleagues, and it was just one of those things that was just heartbreaking. And as I say, I remember that day. I remember where I was, and I'm totally with you on that one. She's an awesome woman, as were the rest of the crew, and they'll all hold a very special place in our hearts. That's most definitely true.
Yeah, definitely. And it was in a time when sort of, Sally Ride, she was the first American,
that's right.
and like Resnick was on that as well. And it was just, female pilots were just starting to get into the space race.
Yeah, they were iconic.
Yeah,
always.
It was so good that they picked a female, and it was such a shame that it just all went terribly wrong because of an O-ring.
I know, yes, and I know this is how we learn, but it comes at great cost. It comes at great cost, and in this particular instance, there were always markers to show that something like this might have happened, and they missed those, and a lot of people suffered because of that.
Yeah, and I think there's so many of the tragedies that have happened in the past. It's just a multitude of minor errors, and time restraints and everything, and unfortunately, it's the loss of human life.
So I was just thinking, when you were talking about those people, all of them actually, I was kind of thinking it's really interesting, because so many of the people that inspire us, you and us and people in general, are people that have had to really struggle. And I know you're going to talk a little bit about some of the things that you found really hard in your life. And when we first started to do the podcast, one of my American friends said to Enid, she used a really cool phrase, the things that used to hold you back are now your superpowers. And we really held on to that. And I think she's right. I think embracing those things about you that are different, and the things that have given you such challenge, can really power you, can't they, into doing fantastic things, into sort of motivating and moving other people. So I was really thinking that when you were talking about Tina and Chris Packham and those people that have had to struggle. And then the last thing you were talking about, it just sort of brought me on to the next question, really. Enid talks a lot in her podcast about, things that didn't go quite according to plan, and some really sort of massive failures, really. Don't you, Enid?
Yeah.
Well, we all have them.
Well, we've got them. We've got them. So throw them out there.
I just wondered if there's any sort of big failures or mishaps that have happened to you, and what's the learning been for you?
Yeah, there's been a few. I mean, my biggest sort of, I never have any regrets, because I think, everything is meant to be, but sort of not going for the career that would have made me really truly happy to right now be digging up a dinosaur somewhere in Canada or America, somewhere like that, or being a marine biologist and just studying sharks all day. These are the things that I would have absolutely loved to have done. But again, I didn't know that I had autism, and I just thought, oh my goodness, I can't go to another country, and I can't go somewhere by myself, and all these things held me back. And I kind of wonder, an earlier diagnosis, would I then have had the help to be able to achieve those dreams? But at the same time, family has always been such a massive thing for me, and to be close to my family. And so instead of digging up a dinosaur, I just collect fossils and models, and so my house looks more like a museum than anything else. And I have many animals that keep me very, very happy. So it's sort of, I don't have the regret that I did it, because just the same with my artwork, I think if my artwork was a full-time thing, I'd lose the love of it. And so that's a hobby as well. But also, whether I should have come out way sooner, I was sort of late 20s when I finally did, and it was having my daughter that realised that I was just lying to myself about my sexuality. But again, if I would have come out sooner, I would have never have had my daughter, and I can't imagine that life.
Sure.
And so everything's meant to be.
Yeah, it's not always kind of a straight path, is it? We've been thinking about that lately. There's a lot of twists and turns, and especially maybe when you're younger, you think things are going to be a certain way, or maybe things should be a certain way because you've been told that. And when it happens differently for you, that can be really worrying and scary, can't it? But actually, in the end, it's really cool, and it gives up, throws up some really interesting opportunities.
Yeah, and I think when you're young, you just kind of think something's going to happen. It's just all going to just kind of fall into place. And then suddenly you kind of get into your mid-30s, and then you think, wow, this is my life. And very different to how I expected, but I wouldn't change a thing.
Sure. So what would you say was the hardest part about receiving your autism diagnosis? I know that's just been recent, so there must be many elements to it.
It happened because my partner used to be a Senko of the school, and she just once kind of briefly said that I had traits, and I didn't think anything of it because I was as ignorant as most people to it. I just kind of imagined autism being Rain Man, the famous film. And then it was another friend who was another Senko who said to me, "You're the most autistic person I know, Faye." And all of a sudden it was like, hang on a minute, what is this? So I looked into it, and then that led onto the diagnosis. And wasn't just a little bit autistic, it's that, full on. And unfortunately with females and autism, we wear this metaphorical mask, and we have to play a role. And I think the hardest thing of it all is actually being able to take that mask off and just say, hey, this is me. Actually, all I want to do is talk about dinosaurs. All I want to do is talk about space exploration and the natural world. And it's extremely hard for the people around me, the people closest to me, to see under the mask as well, because they've just been so used to seeing this confident, cheeky, happy-go-lucky person, when actually underneath my anxiety is like
off the scale,
and stress and everything, and it's allowing myself to be vulnerable. That is the hardest part of it, most definitely.
It's really interesting. It sounds like you're going through a process even now, and I felt like my heart kind of like was really full when you were talking about, I want to talk about this all the time, and I'm going to let myself talk about that. And I felt sort of like liberated for you. But then when you were kind of talking about how it's not always like that, because you've learned to be very different in certain situations, because this is socially acceptable and that's socially acceptable. So it sounds like for you now, life is, better, but it can still be quite hard work judging when to be this and when to be that, and I guess finding yourself, really.
Yeah. And the most important thing that I've learned from it is actually to listen to my body.
Yes.
Because I used to come home from work and be absolutely exhausted, and I couldn't understand why. I mean, I have a physical job, but I couldn't understand why I just wanted to go to bed. And it's because the stress levels of wearing a mask all day and performing just completely tires you out, and it can really affect your health. And I was at the point of kind of rock bottom when I got my diagnosis, but now it's a case of I'll suddenly have an overload about something. Like if someone gives me a hug, it gives me a sensory overload of all the scents that those people might be wearing, a certain particular perfume that's too strong, or washing detergent or something that will make me feel instantly sick. And a closeness is it's someone coming into my space that will give me an overload. And before, I just had to keep this straight face as if absolutely nothing was wrong, but inside it was like turmoil. And I now understand my body so much more, because I'll feel really tired and I will allow myself to have a nap, which is something I never would do before. It's a waste of time.
He's on the shoulder.
It's just allowing yourself to listen to your body. If it's tired, it's because it wants you to lay down, you know, or if it's sick, again, lay down, give yourself chance to recharge your batteries and have time alone. That is the most important thing, to just be able to recharge your batteries.
Wow, that is so interesting to hear, because I guess I'm just kind of aware of how exhausted you felt, but also that was just normal for you. You'd spent your whole life being exhausted, trying to be somebody else. So although now it's less exhausting.
It answered so many questions. Like why I didn't want to go to school, and I would plead with mum why I didn't want to go to school, and I would say how ill I felt, but nobody believed me, because it's almost like the boy who cried wolf, you know.
Yes.
I was feeling ill, but I couldn't explain it. I couldn't explain that feeling of emptiness. And back then it just wasn't heard of like it is today. And again, it's that question of like how different things would be if I would have had that diagnosis sooner. And that's why I really am now on a path to try and help these young girls that when they have these tests, they're absolutely fine, but you actually ask them, well, what fabrics do they like to wear, and what smells set them off, and noises. They don't go into it deep enough. They just think eye contact and things like that. Well, actually, I make more eye contact than normal because I'm reading that person's face constantly.
Yes, I'm really glad you flagged that up. I think that's a really important point to make, because there's a lot of stereotyping that goes around, and I think you're right. That's one of the reasons that people are misdiagnosed or not diagnosed, particularly women. So it's really important that you flagged that up. So I was just thinking, Faye, I mean, one of the other things that we know about you is that you're an incredible artist, and some people might have seen features of Faye's art on our page, but not only that. Go on, Enid, tell them.
Tell them what?
What's Faye done recently?
Oh, yes. Sorry, Faye. Yeah, that wonderful, wonderful drawing that you did for us, which you took from actually different sources, because we were trying to work out, because I actually couldn't find that actual photograph in the sense, but it's absolutely amazing how you actually weaved different elements of different photos, and
we're so excited about it.
So excited. I mean, hang on, I'm going to show you, and I know our listeners won't be able to see this, but they will be able to see it on our page very shortly. But this is the mug that
Faye has kindly agreed to let us.
Do you see what I mean? That's the mug I was telling you about. So your picture is pride of place on there,
it's
along
so
with
lovely.
The logo and a little plane, and so all the things you love, including us, of course, and and our dogs, and of course Michelle Obama. I mean, we have to put that out there because
we love those details.
You were spot on there. Absolutely.
So that was incredible. We still haven't got over that. So that was an incredible surprise. But I know that you have lots of different styles of art, and that's just one of them. You're extremely talented artist. So can you talk to us a bit about what that's like for you? What's the process like for you when you're making your art?
I love doing pet portraits, although I do so much detail where the people probably wouldn't even know the tiny little hairs in certain places, and when I do any form of sketch, I'm not sketching the complete thing. I will start in one area and I'm just seeing shapes and tones and textures, and I basically am creating an image from scratch, obviously, and just moving across, and then after about 9 hours I then will sit back and go, oh yeah, it's finished.
Wow. So you're sort of in a zone when you're doing it.
Oh yeah, it's complete. And again, it leads back to being autistic, that I can sit there literally for 9 hours and I won't even realise that I haven't eaten, I haven't had anything to drink, because I'm just so focused.
Wow.
That it's really hard to then come away from it. And again, it's exhausting, but I love doing it. I love doing it. I have no confidence in myself. I'm terrible at promoting myself. And these are things I definitely need to work on. But it's a real passion, and I absolutely love it.
How lovely. Well, we're obviously going to be putting lots of links to Faye's page on our page, and all those Instagram things people do that we're learning about. But Faye is an amazing artist, so I hope you're all going to check her out.
Absolutely.
The artwork. Sorry, Faye. That sounds unsavoury. She's a nice looking woman too, but I didn't mean it like that.
My work looks better.
Oh dear.
Okay, so moving on. I mean, obviously we're great fans of your art and continue to be. But I know this might be a difficult question to answer because we're often grateful for many things. But what do you feel most grateful for in your life? I mean, I guess at this point,
I am so grateful for my parents and the life that they've given for me, and just the life I've been able to have. And I'm so fortunate for that. And it's only because, like we said before, my dad worked so many hours to achieve where he's out at now. And the one thing that is the most precious in my life is my daughter. Like I said, the moment she was laid on my chest by the midwife after a horrendous labour, my world just completely transformed. It was like a light switch, and it was that stop lying to yourself about your sexuality, and you need to try and just be yourself. And it was a battle, because at that time I was married and I just had a child. Yeah. But I married a fantastic guy and we were best friends. And I couldn't wish for a better person to be Cleo's dad and to be a friend. And I live for my daughter. She's just absolutely incredible.
That's brilliant.
It's just her and me in our little nest with the rest of the animals, and
that's so lovely to hear about. Wow. I feel like I'm learning a lot more about Faye than I already knew. It's really a lovely experience. So what do you think, you've told us already about some, but what do you think are the most important lessons that you've learned in your life?
It is be your true self. Since my diagnosis, I see so much more, even on social media, how people will put posts on about their lives, and it's obvious that they're trapped, but they don't do anything about it. And it's I think to be your true self, if you're around people that you have to act and you have to be someone else to please, then they're not a positive section of your life. They're not, a positive aura. And whether it comes with age, I don't know. But to be your true self is the most important thing, because we get one shot at this.
Absolutely.
And, I'm still learning. This is such the start of my journey to be my true self. But even silly little things where I have loved dinosaurs for as early as I can remember, I always just think, well, that's just for kids. And I used to kind of shy away from it. Where now you
celebrate it.
Love my dinosaur models, and they're on show, and I love my fossils, and I embrace that part of me because it's just different, and cannot say enough. It's that being your true self and surrounding yourself with people who allow you to be yourself. That's the most important thing.
Very true. I think, I mean, you've said a lot about that, Enid, haven't you? That one of the changes that was really big for you was when you kind of started to be around people that thought well of you and said kind things to you. And sometimes it was the smallest thing that had a massive impact because you hadn't come from a kind or happy place. And you grabbed onto it, didn't you? And then that was really the fuel that kind of kept you going, wasn't it? So that's very interesting.
And it's interesting you say that, because in the episode that we've just released, episode 17, I talk about, not to give the spoilers away, obviously, if people haven't listened yet, but I talk about, again, being true to yourself. So very much along the same lines, but there are certain times in your life where you actually realize this, or you're ready to hear it, if you like. And it's like a light bulb moment. You kind of just think, oh wow, okay, somebody said something to me, and I now actually attribute that to me. And do something. Be yourself. Don't be somebody that you think other people want you to be. Be true to yourself and be yourself, because that's you can do that. You can live with that. And I think for younger generations as well, there's such peer pressure to fall into the mold of what a girl should look like, what a boy should look like. Well, I'm more along the non-binary, and that's my choice. And who is it to anybody else?
Absolutely.
And that's what I teach my daughter. It doesn't matter if you're not like the other girls. It's better to not be like the other girls. And it's so hard when peer pressure is a big element.
Of course, yes. And we talk about that in episode 17 as well, about peer pressure, and actually about realizing that it is peer pressure. Sometimes you just wander through life and think, oh well, I'll just do this, I'll do this, and you feel a pressure, but you're not quite sure what it is. But no, you're absolutely right.
And you feel necessary to hide what you feel most passionate about.
Absolutely.
Like Tina Turner, when I was young, my walls were absolutely covered in her posters. Yeah. But I didn't talk to my friends about it or anything. It's almost like I hid my obsession and my passion, because that wasn't normal.
It wasn't cool.
That classic thing of what is normal.
Absolutely.
No.
So restrictive, so exhausting. And I was thinking what Faye was saying earlier about how tired she was of living under a mask, and how she realised she basically lived a life of being permanently exhausted. And I was thinking, you're right. Once you feel like you are really being yourself, it's a lot less tiring, isn't it? Life feels easier, more relaxing.
It's so apparent with my body. I used to go into the doctors and say, why do I feel this way in the mornings? And why when I go to work, do I feel so ill every single morning? And I used to have every cold, every sickness bug. And it's because my immunity was so low because of the stress levels.
Yes, of course.
And actually taking a step back and saying, well, to an autistic person, if you work 3 days, mentally you've worked 6.
Wow.
Take that on board and think, okay, so I need to listen to my body. And I haven't had the sickness before work anymore, and just so many little factors like that. And it really shows.
That's huge, isn't it? That just starting to be kind to yourself, allowing yourself to do what your body needs, has had like a massive effect on you, like in all sorts of different ways. That's really amazing.
Yeah. Without the use of any medication, it's actually just stopping. And again, my brain doesn't ever stop. It doesn't ever switch off. And it's constantly ruminating, whether it's about the latest fossil find, a date that I need to remember. My brain doesn't switch off. And I've never been one to turn to medication. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's just never been for me. And so actually just the smallest things, having a nap, using that time rather than thinking it's a waste of time, using that time for your body.
Absolutely. Really helpful. Really helpful to think about that. So Enid's got another question. I think I know
do.
the answer already. Go on.
Well, this is one of my favourite questions, and I saw it while I was researching various things. I kind of identify with this because I think it can change throughout your life, obviously. But it's, if you could have a billboard with anything on it, what would it be and why?
Oh, definitely be your true self.
Hey,
Massive
big letters.
Oh, we should get that done.
We should.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then just like a little dinosaur somewhere,
Of course. Well, it doesn't even have to be little. It can be, it can be walking through the actual letters.
Yeah.
Oh, you're really coming up with something here.
You know.
A GIF, a little GIF. That
I sense
actually,
a drawing coming on.
yeah,
Not by me, by
I
you,
think that
Faye.
actually is a really, really good concept, and we should look into getting that on the side of one of the
Bus.
Norwich buses or something.
Yeah.
I think that's a brilliant
Or-
concept that would help a lot of people. So, Faye, so lots of people that have been listening probably thinking, oh, wow, this sounds amazing.
Yeah.
I want to see what Faye's been doing with her art and so on. So where can they find you online?
So I'm on Facebook and Instagram, Faye Rackham Artist.
Brilliant.
And you'll find some of my work. I have lots of work that I haven't posted yet. As I said, I'm not very good at that kind of part of it, but I will get better. And
Amazing.
I will post some more. I've just been working on a latest commission of a Sharpei. And,
nice.
Gorgeous.
Really well, so I'm really pleased with that.
Yeah.
And I have got an exhibition coming up in February at Cly Marshes.
Oh,
wow.
it's gonna be,
lovely.
my first exhibition, so
that's
so just kind of getting ready
exciting.
for that. And,
Wow.
That's
just kind of
amazing.
thinking, what am I gonna
What's going to go into
exhibit?
that? Yeah.
Wow, that's
Well, we will.
amazing.
We will.
Congratulations already.
Congratulations, yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Thank you.
And one more thing I must say.
Yeah, go ahead.
My biggest cheerleader is my partner Holly.
Oh.
She just helps me so much.
Yes.
And she's my executive secretary in the world of autism. That's an official title.
Wow.
And, she just helps me so much. So I'll
Sure.
be forever thankful.
Shout
for
out to
that.
Holly.
Yeah,
Shout
well
out
done,
to
Holly. Well done,
Yeah.
Hollykins.
Well done, Holly.
Yeah.
Well, Faye, it has been absolutely wonderful talking with you. And I feel that although we already knew you, we've learnt so much more about you.
Oh, it's been brilliant.
And, you have...
Actually, can I ask a question to you?
Yeah, please do.
Yeah. What would be your billboard?
My billboard, probably a big aircraft on it,
Oh, you should have thought of this before, Enid.
Yeah, you've got me on the spot. Well, no, in fairness, I think I talk a lot about one of the first airplanes I flew with the Twin Otter. And I think I have always been in love with that aircraft, and I probably always will be in love with that aircraft. And I think I definitely would have a huge Twin Otter on my billboard. And, of course, a picture of my lovely wife as well.
What would it say, though?
What, the billboard?
Well,
This is a Twin Otter.
Oh, Enid.
Oh, no, you have
She's
what
been
you-
very literal.
No. It would be,
my world.
you have one shot at this.
Yes, that would be great. Yeah, very you.
That would be because...
And then, like the Memphis Belle with the old ladies
Yes,
on the side of
yes,
the
yes.
plane.
Oh.
Lucy like that.
Yeah.
Now you're talking.
Now look, she's got that look in her eye now.
Right, okay. We're going to
So-
get an actual plane with me on it. Yeah,
Oh,
brilliant.
okay. Well, we'll do that, and then of course you have one shot at this because that's
Yes.
yeah,
This is working out very well.
absolutely.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you, Faye. It's been amazing
Faye.
talking to you.
Oh,
Thank you so much. Been magnificent talking to you, and thank you for launching Pink Sky Inspired Conversations. You are our first conversation, and we hope we'll have lots more.
Yeah, it's been
And
amazing.
you have been absolutely fabulous. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Faye.
Thank you, Faye.
Take care.
Take it easy.